Hello, my name is Shahbaaz Khan. I'm playing Malcolm, and today we will be discussing Malcolm's quote, "Here, there's daggers in men's smiles, the nearer in blood, the nearer bloody," from Act 2, Scene 3. This quote is the first time Malcolm is really absorbing what's happened in the castle. I think he's the only one to kind of reflect on it instantly. So in many ways, he has the initiative to start to question the people around him. And I think that the quote is so brilliantly placed with all this chaos going on. Malcolm steps out and has this moment where he's like, things aren't adding up here. I think when he says there's daggers in men's smiles, he's thinking about the false faces that are in the world and how a simple smile has so much loaded violence behind it. I think it's so great that Shakespeare uses the word daggers and smiles in the same sentence, going from something so horrific to something so innocent. I think it's really well written. I think the key words of the quote are daggers and smiles. Daggers in this play, the daggers are everywhere. Macbeth has a quote where he's talking about a dagger that he can see. The daggers, of course, used to kill King Duncan. And I think it's almost like an emblem for the whole play, this image of a dagger. And so is smiles as well. The whole of the first half of the play is about image and being able to become someone you're not, and that whole face, the public that people see versus the private. Yeah, I think the quote, "the nearer in blood, the nearer bloody," it's just so visual, especially in a scene where people have been murdered. Shakespeare just hits that word blood twice in one line, and I think it's just a reminder that it's not a safe world. And yeah, it's a great use of the word. I think the contrast is really powerful in that quote. You know, using the word, the first time the word bloody is used, the nearer in blood is referring to the blood of King Duncan, the blood that's been spilled. And the second time the word blood is used, the nearer in blood, the nearer bloody, it can be referred to the bloodline, his dad. So it's got a double meaning, which is kind of interesting. I suppose you could deliver the line differently depending on what you stress. So if you decide to stress the word daggers, here, there's daggers in men's smiles, you're really emphasizing that to the audience that this is a dangerous world. But you could choose to stress the word men's, here there's daggers in men's smiles. And I think if you do that, it shows Malcolm's naivety in the fact that he thinks all these false smiles are coming from the men, when one of the falsest smiles in there is Lady Macbeth's. And I think that's a nice call to how unaware the men are in this play as to who's really pulling the strings. So in the original text, Malcolm is speaking to his brother. What we're doing with our production is we've made that whole piece a soliloquy. So he's speaking to the audience, which is so beautiful for a speech like this because there's just so many choices. I think having Malcolm do this speech to the audience opens up a lot more of the private inner life of Malcolm. He's not speaking to someone in the real world, which means he doesn't have to watch what he's saying. So you can play with the openness of that speech and the vulnerability of it a lot more than if you were speaking to someone who is in this world.